This is gonna be a complicated one. In my initial video for the Viper V2 Pro, I wasn't hating on it, I was hating on its price. It felt like a lazy product since it felt like a Viper Ultimate that does less and costs as much or more. Yes, it was lighter, but it felt like that lightness came from a removal of what made the Ultimate special, of features, and they weren't weight savings from any particularly special innovation. Now, I decided to be fair, I've heard your comments, and buy a Viper V2 Pro with my own money, and while my view is now more positive and for the better, I still feel that this is frustratingly expensive and hence harder to recommend than I wish it was, because it's a really good product. But the thing is, with its price, the Ultimate is probably still the better choice for most average users. And here's why. Let's start with where it all begins with this mouse, the weight. Now this is the elephant in the room. The same reason some absolutely love and praise this mouse, and the same reason some people feel it's overpriced, because they don't care about it being lightweight. Can you feel the difference to the older Viper Ultimate? Absolutely. It's crazy impressive how light 58 grams, or 59 if you get the white one, feels. It's just feather light, or should I say, super light. It's quite interesting. Unlike a gaming monitor where going from 240 to 360 Hz is a lot less than going from 120 to 240 Hz in terms of its impact, the V2 Pro's loss of 17 grams in weight saving is very noticeable and very obvious. Maybe because weight is a linear improvement compared to refresh rate and frame timings. Or maybe just because 17 grams is a massive margin of improvement over the Viper Ultimate, because 17 grams is a 22% weight reduction over the Viper Ultimate's 75. For the lightness obsessed, low inertia chasing gamers, it's absolutely a difference that can be felt, that can improve your performance and feels really good. For the people at the absolute edge of their potential, running at impressive levels of coordination with brilliant aim, you can truly benefit from the weight savings here, especially if you are the kind of gamer that benefits from having a lighter mouse. Not saying you are, but you could be. And honestly, for that bunch of people, hand on my heart, I was wrong. It's absolutely worth it. Actually, in fact, even if you are a terrible gamer and you're very bad at gaming with poor aim and you'll never be good, like me, but you play at low sensitivities in fast-paced FPS games like Valorant or CSGO, get it, they're not that fast-paced, but they're quite fast-paced. The lightness actually is also a noticeable help and improvement for your gaming experience. It feels like an angel has blessed my wrists, because while it doesn't make me aim better, it really makes it a lot less tiring to aim fast and hard, and that feels noticeably nice. It allows me to game for longer and game more intensely for longer periods of time, which is something that does make my life a bit better. Though whether that is worth the loss in features to the RAZER Viper Ultimate, that is a different question. You see, for the professionals, the pros, the one who this is truly targeted at, it clearly is worth it. But those pros already know that they only care about lightweight ultimate gaming performance because they want to be at the top level and they don't need my video. But for the average user, is it really worth the loss in features? Let's talk about what this loss apart from its weight. Number one, RGB is gone. I for one don't care. In fact, I know some people might like this, but I know many people do still care about RGB, especially if the rest of your setup is RGB. Keyboard has RGB and then suddenly you have a gaping black hole of plastic on the right side of your setup that has no lights at all because now your mouse no longer has RGB. For those who are obsessed with aesthetics and want a matching setup, the V2 Pro not having RGB is an important thing. Number two, the magnetic charging dock and its compatibility for it is gone. Now this is something I do care about because I like the magnetic charging dock. It's an elegant, simple, clean and absolutely gorgeous solution for charging a wireless mouse. It also means that my setup will be neater if I had a dock like that because it means that I won't have a USB-C cable just flopping around, just hanging there as an emergency solution to when I need to charge my mouse. I just, every time I'm done with gaming and I can forget about it and never worry about my mouse not having enough battery. With a USB-C cable, I'm more likely to have a messy setup, more likely to forget to charge my mouse and more likely to have my mouse die mid-game. Also, the dock looks sick. It has RGB, it looks really clean, and I think it's very important for gamers to have a nice looking setup, so that is a big loss. Number three, it loses ambidextrous support. Now, technically the V2 Pro shape is still ambidextrous, but if you're a left-handed gamer who needs thumb buttons, RIP you if you want a 58 grams wireless gaming mouse. It loses two buttons on the right, which I always felt was a big plus for the Viper Ultimate over the G Pro. All that is in the name of weight savings, which to some, in all fairness, is worth it. But for the average consumer who also needs ease of use, convenience and comfort in their life, maybe not. You will have to decide. But what is left over is indeed a really good mouse. I mean, the Ultimate is a good mouse to begin with. In fact, one of Razer's greatest releases in the last 5 years, and definitely one of the best shapes in the gaming mouse market, hands down. So it's not surprising that a lighter, more upgraded version of the Ultimate is going to feel good in the hand. The shape is what you expect if you touched any full-size Viper ever in your life, though I hope the Viper Mini Wireless is coming soon. I'm sure it will be lighter than this, which will be amazing. And because of the nice shape, it's gonna be a shape that's excellent for palm grip for most people, if not everyone, and going to be a pretty good mouse for fingertip and claw grip if you have bigger hands. There are also smaller tweaks with this mouse too, like it doesn't have rubber grips on the sides by default, with it being a optional 1 gram a piece addition that you have to stick on yourself. I actually do like Razer doing this because it gives you the option, you know, if you want to choose the rubber grips on the side, you lose 2 grams of performance, you know, and they do include it in the box. It's not an optional extra that you have to pay for, so good job Razer on that. I actually think these side grips are an improvement over the Viper Ultimate. And even better than that is that these side grips are very studded, very sharp, and very, very grippy, even more grippy than the Viper Ultimate's side grips. So that's also nice to see. But if you don't choose to use these rubber grips, you might have a bit of an issue because the matte finish on here is even more slippery than the one found on the Viper Ultimate. I don't have an issue with this per se because I don't have palms that are sweaty, mum spaghetti. But if you are someone with sweaty palms, you probably should sacrifice the weight save and actually use these rubber grips that they include in the box because they are super helpful if your hands are a little bit more damp. They also include grip tape for the clicks, by the way, so if you're worried your two fingers for clicking aren't going to be able to grip the clicks properly, problem solved. However, I also don't understand why they didn't use the Viper Ultimate's finish for the matte finish that is here, because the Viper Ultimate's matte finish is kind of the sweet spot to me in terms of too smooth or too grippy. I like it the more in-between feel of that one. There's also another slight difference as well here compared to the Viper Ultimate on the V2 Pro, and that is the scroll wheel and thumb buttons. On the Viper Ultimate, the scroll wheel is very recessed, as well as the thumb buttons are very recessed into the body. On the white version of the Viper V2 Pro, the scroll wheel sticks out more and the thumb buttons also stick out more than on the Viper Ultimate. Anyway, let's move on to the clicks. So apparently these are new optical switches that Razer had to develop that's even better, and while they are good, they are not substantially different to the Viper Ultimate. There are slight notable improvements if you really pay attention to it. It feels better in terms of its tension, more consistent throughout, which is nice, and it does feel like a lighter switch slightly, but it's hardly noticeable. And all that marketing jargon about how this is a brand new faster switch, it's marketing jargon. I will bet you $100 that you cannot feel the difference unless you are an actual world-class esports professional and had both mice side by side, like obsessively testing. And even then, I doubt it. As is the sensor. Of course, this sensor is a new 30,000 dpi sensor and it's brilliant, and it is an improvement on paper, faster in terms of how much it can stand in acceleration. But let's be realistic, the bump in specs and performance is like adding salt into the ocean. Sure, it's more, but for pretty much every single human in existence, it's going to be indistinguishable in terms of performance. Not that this sensor is bad, it's just don't tell me it's a massive improvement that is worth the extra money in the comments like it's a whole ass upgrade from the 3310 to the 3389 sensor, because it's not. It's not going to be noticeable. My $100 bet stands for the sensor as well. You will not be noticing any difference in real world use, and even with more analytical tests and A/B testing, it's unlikely you could feel a difference as well. It's still a really good sensor though. The mice feet are also a slight improvement with an increase in surface area, though it's more slippery, more likely because it's lighter rather than because the mice feet are really any particularly new material. So then, depending on who you are and what your priorities are, the Viper V2 Pro is either an improvement, a rocket ship to space, or a waste of time. It's a step in the right direction of ultimate performance, or a pointless hassle in the pursuit of irrelevant numbers. It's like buying a Porsche 911 Carrera. You want the GT3 RS? Stripped down, stiff, barren, Spartan, with an uncomfortable ride and complete impracticality in terms of ease of use and features, but with brilliant performance and the fastest lap times? Or do you want a 911 Carrera GTS Targa with good but less performance, but all the bells and whistles to make your life as easy as possible as you blaze down back roads at 100 miles per hour, and for less money too? Should you buy it? Well, it all really depends on how much you buy into the lightness is king and everything in performance trend, which in all honesty has nothing wrong with it. If you care the most about having a light mouse, go for it. But for the average consumer, you probably don't as much. As for me, I now see the light weight. And the weight advantage here is something I didn't expect to like so much. For the sweaty tryhard who wants to top frag, it's worth it. But for the gamer looking for good performance and a great experience, the Ultimate is still a better choice. Either way though, for a $200 basically flagship price mouse, and hence carrying flagship expectations, it's disappointing to me. Not because it's a bad product, in fact it's brilliant and a great choice for a lot of people, but because it doesn't feel like RAZER at full power yet, like they are holding back for better products that they are trying to charge more with. It's a sidestep, another offering in their Viper range for targeting a more specific audience and cater to a particular lightweight enthused group, which for us consumers is actually a nice to have because it means more options, more competition, more choices and more products. But with such pricing and with the level of hype that this was released to, a letdown was kind of inevitable. An interesting observation can be made here is that while it's the same price as the original Viper Ultimate, it's not called the Viper Ultimate, it's called the V2 Pro. Perhaps it's an indication of a V2 Ultimate yet to come that is going to cost more. Or perhaps it's actually a sign that RAZER isn't confident enough in the V2 Pro to be a true next-gen flagship to lead the line for the next year or two and replace the Ultimate as the Ultimate V2. Either way though, the V2 Pro, it's a good, but it's a unique product catered to a very specific group of people. And if you aren't part of that specific group, you would definitely think this is crazy overpriced. And because of that, its controversy, while not completely deserved, is to be expected. Although any bad reviews of this definitely aren't, because it does provide something that very few offer. Also, there is a $50 clone called the Deluxe M800 Pro that I'm going to review in like 2 days and compare it to in 4 days. So subscribe for that review. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you appreciate this fair take. And yeah, join my Discord if you have any questions you want to ask. Argue with me in the comments. I love arguing with you guys. And yeah, all love to you guys. If you've watched to the end, comment Medusa if you watched to this point in the video. Bye.